So we had a little bit of weakness in the SPYs yesterday morning, largely related to the selling pressure in some of the tech names. We didn't quite get the gap fill from last Friday to Monday. So we did flush to 288. Failed at the kind of the opening high here. And we're kind of settling in right around the 289 level. The market's still holding up extremely well. I would characterize the selling pressure in some of those leaders yesterday as very normal. Stocks up that are up a ton. Some people doing some liquidations. And market's still overall buyers very much in control. And we certainly saw, despite some early selling pressure in some of the spec pod names, some buyers stepped in after the initial flushes on those. Not to say that they're not very close to the highs and could start coming off quite a bit more, but certainly there's nowhere close to any sort of capitulation yet. Looking at the SPYs. So it's basically this 289.40 where we'd supported a couple of times. We failed there on the open, we failed there on the bounce in the afternoon. Let's just say a strong push above there today and a hold. And then a break above 290, that would be an interesting long play. A failure at 289.30, 289.40 again. Back below, let's say 288.80. We'd look for the rollover to yesterday's low, see if this little mini pullback continues. It would be great if we actually filled this gap right here from last week. Very good technical play. That is SPYs. IWM. Okay, IWM got hammered pretty hard in the open. And it looks like it touched the low from August 23rd. It very quickly popped back above. So we continue to consolidate above 171.25 or so. It's actually a pretty vicious down move in IWM in the open yesterday. Didn't quite get to the low of August 23rd, but got to the support area and then quickly reversed. So a little bit of volatility here relative to the SPYs, but still consolidating well above 170. And I guess a close above 173 would catch people's attention. We can continue to see a trickle now that the bulk of earnings season's over. We'll continue to see some names trickle out. Then we'll always see biotechs release results regardless of what part of the quarter we're in. So let us start with ARWR, which is now up more than when I was looking at it earlier. So here's what it looks like in the daily. So basically, you got to go back to 2014 when it was above 17.5. Looks like today is going to be the day where it finally breaks through here. Okay, so if we go back to the end of July, it was up there. It made this big run from $10 to 14, and then it ran from 14, topped out at 17.5. They crushed it intraday. I'm not sure what this was all about, but it came all the way back down where this started from. I can't remember if I was looking at it, but it came all the way back down to the bottom of this consolidation. People bought it, and then people started buying it up at higher prices at 14. And so it's definitely being accumulated for the last month or so. I would say it looks like it's better than 50-50 that this break is going to hold. So what do I have? I have 16.16. This This is kind of the bigger support. Right here. Let's zoom in. So unfortunately, people are already chasing it. So, when I was looking at it earlier, it was in kind of this area here. Actually, it was down at 16. It's already gone $2 from there, so this makes it a little bit trickier. So I guess at this point, since we're already above 18, I'll look for the flush to here. Earlier, when it was in the 16 to 17 area, I think it was more realistic to look for the flush into this area. It's done 320,000, so about almost a quarter of its average daily volume already. So don't get too overly aggressive here. It could drop it out more severely. Basically buy into this area, look to see if it stabilizes above 1680 and above 1750. What do I have for, so I have 1850 as the first resistance, and it already just got there, or not quite, almost. And then after that, I put 20 as the psychological level. So it's behaving like it might push up to $19.50, $20 today. Question is, where are they going to drop it out to right on the open? Unfortunately, it's run so much already, so the risk reward isn't quite as good as it was looking about a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. The next one is CLRY. So this one is a really strong, well, let's look at it on the higher time frame. So like many retail names, got killed a few years ago, put in the bottom in the last year. Numbers started to look good, broke their longer term downtrends. And so this one's a run. Let's just see how much it's run this year. So at the beginning of the year, it was mid-30s. Now it's failed at 50. So the thing that caught my attention was the raise of guidance of 9% for next year on the EPS. I don't know how much last quarter. It looks like it gapped up about 46 on earnings this year and then topped at 50. So we're kind of right back in that range, exactly where it traded on that last earnings day. We've only got 40,000 shares trading in the pre-market, which is about 8% of its daily volume. So what do I have for levels on this? 45, 80, 49, right. 47 selection. Yeah, so the way I was thinking trading this is if it's holding like the big gap and it's holding in this 47 area after the first few minutes, you see it being bought here at 47, then play it for the move to that 49.50 where it failed after last quarter's numbers. See if it something similar like what MU did last quarter. It failed in the low 60s, had really good numbers again, good guidance. They got up to the low 60s again, failed, then they crushed it. Different type of different sector, different type of company, but similar technical raised guidance, getting near recent highs. And then obviously, if it's a lot of selling pressure on the open and comes off pretty quickly, can't get back above there, then I'll look for the gap fill. So the only reason it would probably have a gap fill with that sort of raised guidance is just because it's run up from the mid-30s this year, and they don't think the raise is that. I'm not sure how much they raised by last quarter. So people will probably compare to what they raised by last quarter. They're on the conference call right now. We can't glean too much because there isn't much volume. And then finally, INVC is not a stock I looked at that often. It only trades 500,000 shares normally. It's up a ton. So this is stock that I've been familiar with since it was like $18, $20 last year. And the idea with this is they have a technique to treat a certain type of cancer. And the question was, could this technique be used in other types of cancers? And they just did something, they added it to a chemotherapy treatment for lung cancer patients. and the survival benefit median went from 12 to 18 months. And really the question becomes how much of that was priced in already. You can see it consolidated earlier this year in the 20 to 25 area, and it just gone to 45 recently. And so the market, to a certain extent, was anticipating that it would be able to be used in other cancers. And so now is this a sell the news situation? Because it did run up from 25 to 45 ahead of the news. And so right now it's gapping above. So that's kind of helpful to kind of see what it looks like right on the open. And so you can kind of see it was up here at 49.50 on the release of the news, 46 right now. It hasn't really done any volume. But basically, you'll be able to tell if it's a sell the news situation pretty quickly. So here's the run from 35 to 45. What you'll see is it'll just, maybe it'll pop on the open a little bit, and then it'll get below $45. And if it does that, making a play down to like 42, 43, this would kind of be the obvious one. And then the severe sell the news situation would be a move all the way back down to 40. So again, good news, but just based on the longer term chart, how much it's run up, it looks like the market was anticipating that they'd get some positive results in some other types of treatments. And so we want to look to see if it fails. And the other possibility is it looks strong right on the open and gets to some level, whether it be 48 or somewhere up in here. You see selling, comes off hard, a couple of dollars, then makes a lower high, and then does something like that. And maybe it just comes into 45. So it's a thinner stock on days where it does a lot of volume. It can do 2 to 4 million shares. So it's worth taking a look at. It's going to be tricky then. So that was the fresh stuff. CGC, I want to take a look at a couple of the marijuana names. So this one yesterday gapped up. Went straight down, similar to what CLRY did and CRON. It got back above $50, had a pretty good bounce, but made a lower high. And it looks like there was something going on here at this 54 level. You can see on the 30-minute, it kept on spiking above, but closing below 1, 2, 3, 4 bars in a row. So clearly there was somebody looking to dump this thing around $54. It closed below 52. And then this morning it was flirting below 50. So what I want to see in this one is there was a seller at 54 yesterday. There was a seller at 56 on the open. Then in the afternoon they were at 54. The logical thing would be, are they at 52 today? So hopefully we'll find that out on the open. I put 51 as the first potential resistance because that was kind of where it held on the close. But these are the two, it gets above 51 here, back down below 51. It's probably going to be a pretty good short down to this 48, and then you'll kind of see if it develops to something bigger. Again, remember, this is the one we were looking at right before I went on vacation. They got a big investment at $37 a share. It sold off to 30 that day, held for a couple more days above 30 before the beginning of this big move to the mid-40s. So really the question is going to be is, does it come back down to this prior high here and hold, or does it actually fail at 48 and come back down into the mid-40s? And then CLRY, which is a more speculative name and actually made a higher high yesterday intraday. Right on the open, it dropped from 85 to 75, something like that, 74. Quite a bit at 80, held for a while, consolidated between 84 and 81.5 for about an hour, and then broke to the upside, took out the morning high. It was a pretty clean move, it looks like. They're above 90, actually went to 95. I wasn't around for that. So let's zoom in a little. So it was much stronger than CGC yesterday. It's a much more speculative name. So it took out the morning high and went up $10 pretty quickly. Then made a lower high. And I guess 92 kind of started to act as resistance. So for today, what do I have for levels for today? 86, 88. So they started to sell it right after the close, you can kind of see. Came down to about $88. And then this morning, they did a press release with some positive news. And kind of the tell on this one right now is it couldn't even get back up to the low 90s. So I would say $88 and then 86. These would be the two spots that I'd be looking at for potential failures. And then I'd want to see, like, if it fails, let's say right on the open between 86 and 88, it very quickly get back down below 84 and really just hold below 84 for a while, and then back down to 80. Then yesterday's, if they really flush it all the way back down to yesterday's support, which would be $20 from yesterday's high. Then we'll kind of see what it does over the next few days from there. But a break of this uptrend, like today, if it closed below 82, would be a break of the uptrend from the last few days. And then AMD, AMD was a really good trading stock yesterday. It overshot on the open to the downside. I thought it would catch a bid a little bit closer to 28. But it popped right on the open to 30, got sold. There was, as I talked about right at the open of the meeting, there was a sell-off in a lot of the tech names. I think it got caught up in that. And also it's run up a ton. But it's very telling that as much as it's run up, it closed positive yesterday with all the selling we saw in some of the technology names. So, I mean, made a big run from 20 to 27, held that 27, which had been the prior high, that's really what it needed to hold. It needed to basically close above this prior high, 27. It closed well above that. And after the flush, the low on the open, it made a higher low. And if you were watching it closely, a bid stepped up to above 27.30. Had a really clean move of about $1 bounce there. I did buy it right before I left the desk on the pullback to 28. I don't remember where my offers were to sell it, but it looked like, it got almost back up to this 29.40. It was right on the open yesterday. It moved intraday over 20%. So looking at it today, then what the natural thing is the range will narrow. And so I'm kind of curious to see if it kind of holds a little bit higher today, like 27.80s to 28, the support, and holds a little bit lower, 29, 29.10. And we get a narrowing of a range. That's possible that doesn't happen. Maybe it rolls over again all the way back down to yesterday morning support area in the mid-27s, where it bounced from, 27.30, 27.40. But normally after this much volatility, you start to get a compression. You get a consolidation for a few days, tighter range, and then you kind of see what the next move is going to be. But it was it's a very good trading stock right now, so it's much more volatile than it was a year ago. It's worth keeping an eye on for the next break. So, and then I should take a look at CRON, because I'm sure this is kind of the lower risk stock. So flushed on the open with everything else, made a lower high at 13. Looks like it's going to be, can it hold below 12 today? And if it holds below 12, does it come back down into 11? It's pretty wild, actually, double top here. And if it actually holds above 12, I would say 12.40, 12.50, this area right here would be another spot I'd look for a lower high on this one. So topped out in the pre-market, big bounce to 13. Maybe you get your bounce to 12.40, 12.50. But even if it doesn't do this and you see some weakness below $12 and comes back up, and you can short into 12, as long as it shows some weakness below $12. Yeah, JD is a really broken stock. I think the CEO got arrested in China when he got back there for rape, I believe. It did bounce a little bit off at 26, I guess, at the end of the day. It's gapping up this morning. I don't know if did they have an announcement? Chinese tech part of CLRY. Yeah, I'm looking to see if they're announced like maybe a replacement CEO or something like that. They haven't. It's just a very broken stock. But it's, you can keep an eye on it, see if it starts to kind of base down here and maybe get back above 28. That would catch my attention.